Just taking the technical support. Alright guys, before we start, we mind if you just close your eyes with me again. Father, I just pray for your guidance in your words. Pray that you anoint me to teach, Lord Father. I pray that you anoint everybody in the power of my voice, Lord Father, that they open up their ears and their hearts, Lord Father, to hear what you have to say. Father, I pray that you would flow through me, Lord Father, that nothing of me would come out, Lord Father, but everything of you. We stand here, Lord Father, as servants, sons and daughters of you, my King. I just pray that you would just hear our voices, Lord. That you would just speak life in every situation, Lord Father, and as we attempt to follow out every instruction that you've given us, Lord Father, may you find willing feet, willing hands, Lord Father, and a pure heart. We just give you glory. We show us never pray. Amen. Alright, I'd like to ask, before I get started, there's something that's been put on my heart probably about 3 weeks ago. It's a clarification. I always like to be sure. I've taken this to the other leaders, but I would also like to hear from Lot. Has anybody been getting anything over the past couple of weeks? Let me, I don't know if I should both show it or I should bring it in nice and tight. Has anybody been given anything regarding tithe, offering, first fruits, teruma, or anything to do with, anything to do with along those lines, shepherding, anything of that? Is there any sort of thing that in your readings or that God is giving you regarding that? Okay, surely you want to share?
Reading from Proverbs 3, verse 9. So I have been praying and asking the Father, what do I need to give him? And he said, honor me with your possessions and with the first fruits of all your increase. So your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will overflow with new wine.
Same verse.
3, 9 to 10.
All right. Okay. I say this tentatively. Okay, we've got a couple of witnesses here. I've taken it to my leadership, like I said. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a teaching, and this guy was talking about basically working full-time and trying to pasture his flock at the same time. And he sat there and he said it was a very difficult time for him. I understand exactly where he was. He said the problem was that he was doing both jobs badly. So I listened in. He says when he was at work, he was thinking about his flock, and when he was with his flock, he couldn't really commit because he knew he had to go to work. And then it struck me. I felt, he said, to do a job, to be a shepherd properly, you have to go into full-time ministry. Now, obviously, that is not a leadership motive scenario. Right? This is a group decision, number one, but I feel very strongly that God told me that I have to go into this role. Don't worry, the gate's locked, you can't leave. Look, you guys know me. You know me well enough. I've never or expected any tithing or first fruits or anything of the sort. I've never pushed it. I've said it's a mitzvah, you should be doing it. But always to look around the people that God surrounds you with, to take care of them. You know, in a fortunate position where we can support ourselves. But I have to act in obedience. If God is going to stretch us this year because of the favor He promised, I need to get myself into position so that I can take care of my flock better. So I'm asking you to go and pray and seek His face. If He lays it on your heart that you would put into this ministry, I'm not going to say tithe, I think it's badly taught. But if you believe what we're doing here is right, if you've benefited from any sort of videos or any sort of teachings or anything along those lines, I would ask that you would give a gift offering so that I can do what I need to do. Now, I am not in the position as yet to go full time. I don't want to talk about business on Shabbat, but I'm a part business owner. I have negotiated terms with my company so that I can do it part-time, but I also don't think it's fair for my company to pay out a full salary if I'm not there taking my responsibility seriously. They have been gracious enough to cover for me and do my job when I'm taking care of you. And not once has my salary been docked for taking tours, for dealing with issues, for going out and having meetings to give you counsel over the last 10 years or so that I've done this. We have always made our time available, we've always made our home available. But like I said, I don't want to be a burden on anybody. But if this is what Abba wants, I'm nervous. A comfortable thing for me to do would just push it to the side and say, "Well, shut up, sit down, and carry on the way you carry on." But I don't know what's coming. And if I need to be available, and if I need to be there, He's probably freeing me up for you. He's freeing me up to put together maybe, it's on a few of our hearts to put together study guides. It's on a few of our hearts to do audio teachings. It's on a few of our hearts to be able to expand, and we got given a commission quite a few years ago, if you guys will remember, to extend your tents, and we waited for the direction. I don't know if this is that point where Abba's saying, all right, you've had enough warning, now it's going to start to come to fruition. Like I said, you should know me well enough to know this is something completely out of character for me to talk about. And I know a lot of you have come out of institutions where this has been badly done, and that it's giving you a lot of mistrust when it comes to financial things. Right? I will not be in charge of the financial distribution of the things. We set it up from the beginning that other people are. And if at any time you wanted to look into that, you are more than welcome. If you're going to discuss, I don't know if I should discuss figures, but whatever God lays on your heart, I'm trusting in that will cover what we need to cover. So I'm going to leave this up to Him to deal with you so that we can do what we need to do together. I cannot do this without you, but I also think it's for you. Any questions, please, thoughts? Can we run down? Join. All right. So we set it back down. No thoughts? Nothing? You have been sitting there, I'm sure you can't use it. So always nice to have a quiet audience when you talk about something so personal. Why is it whenever I go through something like that, no one responds? All right, let's say the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan Torah. Amen. All right, jump with me to Ephesians. Alright, so last week we had a whole bunch of discussions about old creation, new creation, living for God, walking away from all the brokenness that you were to become the new that you are. Yes? And everybody curled up into a little ball and hugged themselves and were about as quiet as you are now. Jolly good. Alright. So I'm going to just go back a little bit, just to remind you a little bit of the context, because it's an epistle and we're breaking it up according to chapters. It doesn't always work. I know it's fine. Let me start with 3 verse 1, it's fine. It is a consequence that I, Shaul, am a prisoner of the Messiah Yeshua on behalf of you Gentiles. He's Paul. Where is Paul? He's under house arrest, tied to a Gentile. Ironic, yes? And he says, it's because of you, Gentiles. And here I'm strapped to a lovely gentleman who comes of the nations. Okay? What does he mean, I'm a prisoner of Messiah? Is that the word he uses there? Any other translation? Any other translation? I'm a prisoner. I'm a servant. No. Wow. Do we all understand Bible, Lord? Prisoner? Alright, the term actually gets put in here is obed. Obed actually in some cases, most cases means servant. Now I want to just remind you of why he would do that. So he says he's literally a prisoner, and we can understand that. Okay? He's a prisoner of Messiah Yeshua. So, does that make sense? I thought he was a prisoner of Caesar. Hello? Are we communicating? Prisoner of Messiah. So Messiah has got him chained up because he's a naughty boy telling everybody, as you well know, not a big talk, right? Well, what he was going to be bound. Yeah, absolutely. Right. But right, which is extremely ironic for Paul, right? Why is it ironic for Paul? Shaul, where did we get introduced to Paul? Right, yeah, he was busy holding the coats while they were killing Stephen. Nice intro. And then Shaul, and then he goes into where? Right, and then he gets a letter from the high priest. So we know he was part probably of the Sanhedrin, and he had, Gabriel was actually something in charge of the Sanhedrin at the time. Sanhedrin was his disciple, and he went off and he got letters, and he was going to go and grab them in chains and bring them back so that he could persecute them, yes? And Paul sitting in chains, being persecuted for his faith. So it's very ironic. The way God takes you from where He found you, except now you're being persecuted for the right thing. It's like, but I don't like persecution, I thought we're all going to hug each other and we're going to fly off in the chariot. Remember, what Yeshua said was, they will not like you because they didn't like you. Okay? So he's a prisoner of Yeshua. Okay, many times in the epistles he refers to himself as what? He says, I am a bondservant of. Right? I believe he's referencing the same thing here. Although we can see the humor in the fact that he's actually a prisoner at the time writing this epistle. What is a bondservant?
So when Joseph started his master
absolutely correct, but can we find scripture? Yes, somewhere in scripture it says in the Bible it is written. Yeah, I don't hear a single word you say until you show me the word. Yeah, let's see what you guys have got. Bond servants. Pastor Swingers first. Alright. No problem, man. Let's fix it. Relax. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Alright. So we've got two references. Exodus 21 verses 1 to 6. Yes? Yes, please. Read that.
Hebrew servants. If you buy Hebrew servants, he is to serve you for 6 years. For the 7th year he shall go free, without paying anything. If he comes alone, he is to go free alone. But if he has a wife when he comes, she is to go with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and the children shall belong to her master, and only the man shall go free.
Alright. Well, that's one part about the servant.
But if the servant declares, I love my master and my wife and children, and do not want to go free, then his master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door or the doorpost, and pierce his ear with a pole. Then he will be his servant for life.
Alright. Okay. So bond servant is what? Someone who forsakes his freedom in the service for the love of his master. Yes? Alright, now think about this for a second. What is the prescription? I'm happy where I am, I'm happy with the bride you've given me, I'm happy with my children, I'm happy to leave my land, and I'm happy to stay here. Now understand what that means in the context of what is being said. The land you were given according to the inheritance you received, according to the covenant. And you're saying, let someone else have it. I love this life. I love this house much more. I'm going to give up my life there so that I can live here. Right? And then we take him to the door frame after being declared, and then they will do what? Well, give him an earring. The last time, was this a good or a bad idea? Earrings with the shouting for it. Right, if you go back to the Egyptian symbol of state ringing, it was an earring. So then when they made the golden calf, he said, give me your earrings. And they take the earrings and out comes an Egyptian god. What a coincidence. You're still thinking the same way. You're worshipping in an Egyptian way. Remember what I said. The biggest problem God has was not, it was miraculous. More than one miracle to get them out of Egypt. The tough part was getting Egypt out of them. And we see that as it gets played out. Now here we see someone who goes, no ways, I want to let go of my life. Saul was trained up. Paul was trained up how? He was trained up to be a rabbi, underneath one of the greatest rabbis who had graced earth, according to the sages. Rabbi Gamaliel the Elder. And this Gamaliel, if you get trained up by him, I'm sure he would have had enough clout to go open up his own school, and he would have been probably placed on the Sanhedrin, and he probably would have been lifted up in the community, and they were fairly wealthy individuals. And what do we see Paul doing? Being sponsored left and right, going from place to place, and when he gets there, if he stays there for a while, he helps it, he builds it, he does whatever he can, and then he teaches. Trained up to be a rabbi, yes, but to live as someone who belongs to the Sanhedrin, no, he's given up his entirety of his life. He's given up in the way he thought. And he surrendered everything to Rabbi, and now he's sitting, he's in jail, and he's like, on behalf of Yeshua, I'm standing here, I'm in chains, but he does so willingly. It's quite interesting. In the bondservant, what is one of the motives that he would stay?
He said, I love my master and my wife.
I love my master, I love my wife. Now let's think about that. Where do we see Paul referring to a wife? We glanced over these verses, eh?
There is a person I'm moving on.
When do you see him as that? No, he's unmarried. Right. But he says, I long that I as a father can present you as a spotless bride too. Right? He loves his children. He loves his master. But he is belonging to the bride, which is Christ. So he's doing everything to raise up these people, to lift them up and to bring them into the kingdom, and that is his full soul purpose. Now the symbol of that is an ear. And he gets put on, where is the piercing done? At a door frame. What's the Hebrew word for door frame? A mezuzah. Literally. No, you write it on the mezuzah. Right. The little case that we buy is a mezuzah case. It fits on the door frame. Its function or its placement is actually in the name. So you will take my words and you will stick it on the mezuzah. It's a mezuzah. No, the door frame is the mezuzah. So you would go in and a declaration of where God's instruction is written to hear. Right. Shema Israel. Isn't that what's on the doorpost today? Hear and listen to Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one. Hear and listen to Israel. And as a sign, what we do is we put a little awl through, and what's on the awl? What's on the little earring? If lost, it is returned to. How do you know whose slave it is if you don't take about it? Just think about it. In ancient community, they were considered as, they were brought in as property, yes? Right. Obviously, like we get told you guys today, they were treated as family, you know? This is not slavery as we know it today. And then we get very grumpy and we say, God loves slavery. Therefore, I'm not going to believe in this God. No, you don't understand his heart, you don't understand him. He says you bring them in as family, you treat them like you're one of your own. The better translation is actually employee. Because they get paid, they get fed, they get looked after all nice, and then after a couple of years you sit there. Especially if they're your brother. But if you buy a foreigner, the same thing. They rest on Shabbat. When you rest on Shabbat, they eat when you eat. Think about that for a second. It took me a long time to learn that. You know, it seems like a silly thing, but you don't want other people working while you're resting, right? Because that's your Sabbath. Oh, wait a minute, that's not what God says. You know, but I don't want to force my Shabbat on them and their understanding. No, you're not forcing anything. Your house, your life. Don't diminish your life for anybody else. Right? Do you take off your wedding ring when other people feel uncomfortable that you're married? No? No one does that. So I don't like the fact that you're married. Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm just going to take off my sandals so we can get along better. Seems silly. But we do. Don't let anybody come in on your Shabbat. Okay? So he takes them there, he pierces their ear, and he gives them a marking so when they come in, you know if this is a guy who he belongs to and who he should be returned to. But we see some interesting thing. The word that he uses is not just to stab, he uses the term to pierce the ear. Where else do we see piercing happening in Scripture? Pierced his hands, pierced his feet, pierced his sides. On what? Was it a cement block? On wood. Interesting. Interesting. So he sits and he pierces them and he leaves a scar. Yeshua actually, Paul actually mentions it. He says, it's a slightly different context, but he says in Galatians 6, he says, I carry the scars of Yeshua on my body. Right now, remember, he was beaten with bloody little things that attached to their flesh, broke bones, all those things on it, and he declared this as part of his markings for Yeshua. He says, how do you not recognize me? Don't I look like him? You look like you've been beaten to death. Yeah, they tried a couple of times. The same way they did to my master. We look the same, no? And they counted the floggings that they got as glory, that they would be persecuted in the same way the great rabbi was. Someone here needs to hear that. You think they, by them shouting at you and telling you they think you're crazy because you keep Shabbat, or you keep feasts, or you wear tzitzit, they're not dragging you outside and beating you. They're voicing their opinion, and out of their opinions of man, you step away from the Word of God. You need to take stock of where these guys came from. At the doorpost, okay? Interesting image. What's the shape of a doorpost? What is doorpost shaped like this? Yes? Right? Jolly good? You finish that way, right? Alright? How do we know it wasn't shaped like this? Some of you have been with to Israel? What is it? Okay, generally when you go to Kabona, when you go to those places, you see this shape. You see one or two places in Chorazim where they get the archways, but how do we know when that period was? Right, little funny little issue there. So when you see archways in any building, you know they're mastered building big. They distribute the weight. But the thing in Galilee, you're only dealing with basalt rock. Basalt rock is very hard, it makes it very brittle, so it cannot carry the weight. So they have little windows. Right? But when you go to Jerusalem and they're building in limestone and there's much bigger buildings, it's a little softer and it's a little bit more pliable. Okay? So, only later do we see this shape. But around the doorpost, and if we just follow the pictures of what God is trying to say here, where else do we see the doorpost coming besides the Shema? Pesach. You will paint the blood on your doorpost. Okay? Yes? No, you don't have to do it today. You don't have to Passover the lamb. It's okay. He is the Passover lamb, Baruch Hashem. And he's got the blood on the doorpost. Just while we're there, terrorize you guys who haven't been here, for those of you who have, you should know this. How do I spell life in Hebrew? How do I spell it? Oh, no. Hebrew. Chet and Yud. It's quite interesting when you look at the last Supper, which was a Pesach Seder, in my opinion. And then the Chet and Yeshua was sitting over there, third in line. It's interesting that he sat at the table of life. It was a triclinium-shaped table. They used it. It was actually a Roman invention. And they were reclining, celebrating Pesach. And if you looked at it from overhead, you see the hand of God, God in flesh, sitting on the side where which Balach Chai. Not only that, we have other images. Are you finished with my images? Please, come on, man. It was done at the door. What's the Hebrew word for door? Dalet. And it's for what? What is the point of Dalet? To enter. It's a way. Right. And that's why we get the term, the way is there. Derech. I need a derech. I'm on the way. It was the way, the truth, and the life. Established in Shema, established at Chai, and established as a servant as Jesus Christ. Are you guys following the imagery? He's in everything. Right, every image is overlapping to give you an idea of what a bondservant really is. Someone who is completely committed to the cause and the benefit of his master. To lift up his household, to take care of him. And he says, I'll give up everything I have so that I can belong in yours. Can I? Will you accept me? Remember the point of Ephesians was to bring a Gentile in and bring him into the kingdom of heaven and tell him that he's no second-rate citizen, but that he was brought in as, just like any other Jew. There's no difference between you belong to God, nothing less, nothing more. Every point of this thing was to show them that he was going to bring them in. And many a Gentile came in as a prisoner of Rome. And he says, don't think you're Roman. You come into this kingdom, Caesar's not God, God is God. Are you with me? This kingdom is going to fall away, it's going to break. The one that's coming is eternal. This season demands blood and sacrifice and entertainment and all these other funny things. Call that the Colosseum later. Entertainment. What is your God require? To fear Him and love one another. Are you guys following this? Alright. So, Yeshua again says, I am the door, when he talks about his sheep. And he's the very protection, right? So when we deal with the sheepfold looks kind of like this. It comes in and there's a little space over there. It's normally about yay high. So when you take out the sheepies, you get them into the fold. Why would you bring them into the fold? Right, you want to protect them. You also want to give you an opportunity to count your flock, make sure everybody's there, and you get to deal with all the fun stuff. Cleaning out the parasites, cleaning out their eyes, cleaning out their nose. You get to look after them and make sure your flock is fine. Why would I do that? Well, they won't sleep, but I mean, if your sheep is in the field, I'll sleep, you carry on eating, do whatever you need. What is the motive of the shepherd? Your sheep is an investment into your future, right? This is actually the very thing that you're going to sell and trade with and do whatever. You're going to get the wool, and you're going to use the goat hair, and you're going to use the milk, and you're going to use all of the stuff over there. That's going to take care of you, so why would you neglect your sheep? Yes? So he brings him in and he puts his, literally, he says, I lay my life down on the line. Literally, he puts himself in the deck. Sits there. He is this dalet that sits over there blocking the way of what? Predators coming in. Right? He is the difference between life and death for you. And it's interesting that when we're looking at David fights lion and bear, and we see pictures of Satan coming and mimicking as a lion. And here we have this shepherd taking care of his flock. And just like David, he says, God's already delivered me. From lion and bear, he takes on the lion. Yes? And where else do we see that? Daniel. Put you in the lion's mouth. May your God protect you. He said, yeah, I sent an angel. He shut that lion's mouth. Does not have power over him. God is stronger than him. What does the lion normally represent biblically? Royalty. Okay? Obviously, they're very strong, but there was some royalty in the time. Okay? So, he has all these interesting little images. One more. Are you ready for one more? Alright. Go to, we've got two interesting little scriptures. Okay, instead of dealing with the doors and the ways and all the rest of it, we're going to deal with the ears. Okay, so what makes it so special? What are we dealing with ears here? One parallel scripture, we've got Leviticus 8 verse 1, and the other one, Leviticus 14 verse 1 to 20. Alright. Jump there quickly and give me a short little paraphrase version of what we're dealing with here. Welcome to Shabbat. Live study. Which portion?
That's 14.
Okay, so now we are dealing with something called Sa'arat. I'm going to write leprosy in inverted commas because it's not exactly the same Henningson's disease that we have today. Alright, when you look at when you look at something in the regions, let me say this without butchering it. The conditions and the symptoms. Thank you. The symptoms and that are going on, they look, if they parallel it to the Henningson's disease that we have today, which is one of the leprosy, they are very different. Right? I'm not a doctor, I can't go into that. Maybe Uncle Teddy can help me out with that sometime. But you're dealing with leprosy. Sa'arat normally deals with what in Scripture? Spiritual sin. And it says so many beautiful pictures when God tells you to investigate. You know, when He says, all right, well, if someone is going bald, go and check. Right? You said that you would go and look, and if he says if he's just going bald, it's okay. But if you see some reddish rash coming up like that, we need to move him out the camp for a little bit. Why? Because it's going to affect everybody. Yes, might be contagious. So from a normal physical standpoint, we can understand. If you see a little head come up and the head goes white in that head, oh, we need to check. And you check the root of it. And you've got to see the root of your sin. So how that happened is, one of the first mentions of it is with Miriam, which her and Aaron came up and they challenged Moses. They challenged God's authority in Moses' life and what Moses is doing, and she was struck with leprosy and healed at the same time. Okay? So as they went through that, she was healed, she was put outside the camp, and then there's a process. Now in Leviticus 14, what is the process of spiritual leprosy? How then do we go from healings and so on? Yes, mate. Alright, you want to narrow that down for me? What do we have in Leviticus 8 so long?
Purification of the priest's garments and sanctifying the altar.
Okay, so we're dealing with, basically, I'm going to go with the priesthood because I want you to focus on the word ears. How do I set apart the priest? How do I dedicate them for their service?
We're anointing them.
You anoint them, or what else does it say in the portion?
It says that the garments you have
Which priest are you talking about?
Aaron, sorry.
So we are dealing with the high priest, the Kohen Hagadol and his sons, and they get told to sit where?
At the center of the meeting.
Sit at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Oh, so there's not the Kawinki thing. Here again, sheepfold and blocking the way into the Mishkan itself. And they sit over there, and once they go through an offering and they're anointed, what do they do? What do they do with that offering?
We then have to take that and anoint they have to take the blood and sprinkle it on the altar 7 times. Anointing the altar and the utensils, the basin, and consecrate them. And he had to anoint the incense altar and the clothing.
Okay. What do they do with priests?
They purify them. They had to wash themselves from head to
Where do
toe.
they put the blood?
Below the right ear and on the thumb of his right hand.
So we've got blood on the right ear, and the
On the right
Right
toe.
hand, the thumb,
thumb,
and your big toe drop.
and the right big toe.
Verse 23. It's a ram's blood.
Okay. Right. Very, very interesting scenario, right? So let's start there. We'll nick nails down the other side. So he takes blood after setting everything apart, the high priest, and he goes and he puts blood on the earlobe, and I want to bring you back to there. That's exactly what we discussed with pierced in the earlobe, all right? And he puts them at the door of the Mishkan. They said this was done at the door, and he puts blood on the right earlobe, thumb, and big toe. Tell me a story. Think Hebraically. Yes, to hear. So, right, so he says, first of all, my boy, dedicate your ears, listen to me. Right? And if you hear me, you will do them with your hands and your feet. Yeah, there we go. Very nice. Your halakha. Yeah, no, there. All right. You can write that name with a K-H-A or with a C-H. It is your halakha. Your halakha is a synonym for what, Hebraically? It's your spiritual walk. God walked before you. How is your halakha? Are you following or are you not following? Remember, God went out ahead of you, like a shepherd went out ahead of you, like the rabbi went out ahead of you. What's your job? To follow. What do we do today? Abba, I'm going this way. You coming with? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Who's the light and who's walking here? Right? We need to follow him. This is where the blessing is. Guys, if they sat there and they go, no, I don't feel like walking into the wilderness, this is stupid. How do you ever get to the promised land unless you follow God? How do you ever get to fulfill where God can fulfill His promises in your life and bring you into the fullness of your calling for His kingdom? How does He bring you into the fullness of your provision, spiritually, maybe physically? How does He do that if you refuse to move? Remember who you were and remember who you are now. That's going to come up in Ephesians. Old creation versus new creation. Okay? So He does this and He says, all right, dedicate them. Let's bring it back to the leprosy. What imagery do you see? What do we have? Give me the components.
Okay, so if you have hut, you are to be brought to the priest.
Yes.
And then
Where's the priest?
the priest is the cook needs to go outside the camp and examine him there. If he sees that the sores have been healed, then the priest will order that 2 living clean birds
Okay.
be taken.
So we have again, there's an offering.
Okay. Along with cedar wood,
All right. We have cedar wood.
scarlet yarn, hyssop leaves, branch,
Scarlet yarn.
hyssop.
Hyssop.
Take one of the birds, slaughter it in a clay pot over running water.
Okay, so water.
The live bird takes the cedar wood and scarlet yarn and the hyssop and he dips them, and the living bird,
Okay, water. Where's my water?
clay pot running water.
Okay, pot. Fine.
And then he takes the cedar, the scarlet yarn and the hyssop and the bird and dips them in the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the running water. And I can just imagine the bird going crazy and sprinkling the person. So it sprinkles the person to be purified from the Tzadai 7 times.
Right?
7 times.
Okay.
And he sets the live bird free in an open field.
Yeah.
Then who is to be purified must wash his clothes.
All right, let's stop there. Let's just deal with this out now. Okay. Tell me a story. So you have spiritual leprosy, let's call it that, which has a physical manifestation in your life. You come in and you have to bring the offering. Okay, same as that, you deal with the offering. This one, he brings in cedar wood. Why cedar wood? Cool. Alright, cedar wood is known for its smell. Alright? And also is the cheap stuff, yes?
No.
No, there's a high cost involved for this before we get into the other things. Scarlet yarn. What does scarlet represent? Red. Blood, flesh, normally, right? So it's part of the body. How do I get to that? You are made, what was the name in Hebrew for man? Adam. Adam, right? What is the Hebrew word for blood? Dam. Alright. So, before the first one, there was nothing but that. So you had to come in and breathe it in and make you a living being. Okay? Hyssop. What do we use hyssop for? Cleansing, right? He says, cleanse me with your hyssop, is what the psalmist says. Also, water, to wash you, purification. Okay? Yeah?
Cedar wood oil is antibacterial, antifungal, anti-everything.
Antibacterial.
It's healing.
Anti-stuff.
Anti-everything.
Anti-healing. Not everything.
Not yet.
Are you sure you're paying attention? Alright. Why do I use a clay pot? Why don't I use a stone? What is it trying to tell you? What is it going? Clay is porous, right? It absorbs it absorbs everything really. So if you cook something unclean in a clay pot, you have to destroy the clay pot because it actually comes up into the clay. You cannot out-cleanse it. You cannot get rid of it completely. Alright? So part of this offering, which means to draw near to God, there will be healing. You'll smell nice. You will get dealt with in your flesh. Okay? There will be cleansing, mikvah or purification. All of this going in with a bird. One obviously dies, and the other one, the living bird, gets put in, and the living one is the one that gets set free. What was death gets put to life. Now, that's what the heck is that going to do with anything we're reading in Ephesians? We're given it from the context of Paul. The way he was, he went up and did he not blaspheme and did he not challenge God? He said, why are you persecuting me? Right? Was he not unclean from a point of view? Going against God, was he not blaspheming God's word? What was Gamaliel's advice? One of the only pieces we have of him in Scripture. If this is God, and it carries on, you're going to be fighting against it. If it's of man, it's going to dissipate and turn into nothing. Be careful. Stand back and watch a little bit, my boy. Let's see what happens first. Hold the morning. He listened to his rabbi. And what? He ended up fighting against God himself. He pushed it, he pushed it, he pushed it. He came up against him, and now he needed to be purified. He needed to become, in many cases, he needs to become the offering. And he was set free to be able to be a bondservant. He was included in the house. And how much more personal was it? I am undeserving. I cannot do this. Look, guys, if you're thinking you Romans, that you guys came from an unclean world, I was challenging God himself. And look at where I am. Talk to me about his mercy. Talk to me about his compassion. Talk to me about stuff. Let me tell you, some of the biggest testimonies come from the people that were most lost. You know, didn't Yeshua say, because she sinned much, right? She didn't go, well, you know, that's just the way it is, and he forgave me, happy days. He said, even though I'm probably the last person on earth who deserved it, he still came to me for that. How many of you feel like that from time to time? And he still came and he chased me down and he fought for me and he got me right and he cleansed me and he brought me in and he said, my boy, you are mine, I'm going to make you mine, I'm going to give you a seal. Let no man say you don't belong to me. You belong to this house, boy, do you understand? And every time you doubt, smile a little bit, you might feel something. And when you hear, now you need to walk. And you go stand up there and you tell them you belong to Father. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Act like it. Become a servant. Become that bond servant. That you will let go of your life and you will become so part of His kingdom. You belong to that household, not this one. This is going to pass. It's all going to be broken. You are not going to take anything with you. Don't sit there storing up treasures here and thinking, oh yes, this is for my one day. It's going to be spectacular and I'm going to enjoy that. And then others going to go, right, up you come. I just want to go and fetch my books. No, I have to go fetch my favorite Bible. I am the living word. What do you need a Bible for? Come, let's have a conversation. But Abba, I need my talit. Talit is supposed to remind you of the Shekhinah. I am the Shekhinah. Why don't you come to me? All of this stuff we have to leave behind. It's not going to be there.
I found a scripture in 1 John that ties in nicely with the cleansing of the leper in terms of the water and the blood, where it speaks of Yeshua being the one of water and blood. I'll read it, it's just one verse.
Yes.
It says, this is the one that came by water and blood, Yeshua Messiah, not only by water, but by water and blood.
All right. I wasn't going to go there, but since you brought it up.
But our minds were going there.
Please, Michael, listen. Just go to the next person. All right. This is kind of cool. All right. So what do we look at purification and blood, right? And we can easily tie this to which event in the Gospels? Water bloody poured out his side. Oh, here we are, we're back in the piercing, and we know that he's dead, and he died on a tree, and all those good things, right? But Hashem, that he did do that for us, even though it was horrible for him. But his entire ministry is summed up in these two images. Right? Mikvah, Canaan. He turned water into wine, yes? Right, and does he not bring this back in at Pesach? We're back in the door frame. And does it not say, the new covenant, I will speak on the king and I will have my Torah in your heart? In that proposal, that purification process that you go through as a bride, or waiting for your groom. Right? You can take a look and you can say, all right, well that's foreshadows, but if we look at Cana, we can look at Pesach. And if we understand Pesach, we understand wedding on both fronts, in Cana and Pesach. But ultimately this is pointing to his atonement, of which was achieved. But when did he go into public ministry? Right, his public ministry. And the first two things we see up in the early days is the wedding at Cana, and we see the mikvah that takes place, and we see the wedding thing come back, and the blood that will bring the cleansing so that we can enter his kingdom. Amen? But that, the blood of that time will come. Enough? You want me to stop? Jolly good? And it's been like 10 minutes for the first person. Alright. Are you guys okay? Alright. Promise it's not going to be as picturey as this. Well, it is that. No, we're not getting in the way. I assume that you have heard of the work of God in His grace has given me to do for your benefit. And that is the way by revelation that the secret plan was made known to me. Alright. Now, before we get in, remember, Reed mentioned again, don't get into the place where you go, you see, dispensationalism exists. How many of you know what dispensationalism is? It's a naughty word, don't use it. Alright, it basically means that there is constant revelation going on, that God is revealing. He only revealed to Abraham what Abraham understood he could handle. At Mount Sinai, He revealed something different. And in the Gospels, He revealed something else. And so we go on. The problem is, we've got verses like in Isaiah, He says, I revealed the end in the beginning. No, but that was one dispensation. How can He say that? You see what I'm saying? He's going, and this is a revelation. I don't understand the secret plan. You see, because Paul never saw it, and the guys, I suppose the Jews at the time, never understood it. It doesn't mean that it was on God's heart. Let's find out first what the secret plan is, and then we can discuss it. Okay? I have already written about it briefly, and if you have read what I've written, you will grasp how I understand the secret plan concerning the Messiah. In past generations, it was not made known to mankind, as the Spirit is now revealing it to His emissaries and prophets. We'll get into those words now. That in union with the Messiah and through the good news, the Gentiles were to be joint heirs, a joint body, and joint sharers with the Jews in what God has promised. Right. Lovely Afrikaans word, stoppie bus. Just pause there for a second. Now, we have the covenants of God, and they were to a lovely Jewish man by the name of Abe. Yes? No, he was a Gentile actually. Alright, I know that ruffles a few people's feathers, please forgive me, but you have no, he was the first Hebrew. So what do you call that someone comes out from Mesopotamia? Do we call him a Jew? No, because Jews weren't around then. He was a Gentile. Gentile means of the nations. He came from the nations and God met the man, made a covenant with the man, and said, all right, we're going to start something really cool. You want to be part of it? He says, yes, Abba, let's do this. And he says, okay, through you and your seed. And he goes layer upon layer upon layer, and it's through the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Israel. And it's about the Jewish Mashiach and the Davidic lineage and the promised land. Show me where it says, and let's worry about the rest of the world. Oh, there's lots of places, but we're not going to talk about that because it's a proud Jewish thing. Listen to me, something that is very difficult in Israel is when we tell them there's no difference between Jew and Gentile. And they're like, excuse me, we are the covenant people. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. But you're messing with the fullness of his identity. And you're saying, yes, but we're getting grafted. We're coming too. And he goes, who said? Are you Jewish? No. You can't be part of the covenantal people. Remember, John the Baptist. People coming up from Jerusalem to be mikvahed, and they want to hear this news that's coming. What do you call them? Brood of vipers. No, we're the covenanted people. He says, do not say for yourselves what? You are sons of Abraham. For out of these very stones. Interesting word for stone. What's the Hebrew for stone? It's a combination of two words. It's literal. What's the word for stone? It's a combination of father and son put together. Yeah, that's it. Go check it out. It says it brings them in, and he says, out of these very stones I can make you sons of Abraham. You see, they had a problem with their thinking. They thought because we're Jewish, we said we don't have to do anything anymore. How many of you grew up in a Christian house and my parents are Christians, so therefore I'm saved? Yeah. Sorry, but it's whatever. We have a very bad tradition of saying, oh, don't worry. You've been baptized into the church when you were little. You never made a decision. How could you be mikvah? What is a mikvah? How did you make that choice to be baptized into anything? So you know that I was born here in here and I'm going to die in here. Why? Because I was Gedorbinka. That's nice. Where in your spiritual walk did you make a decision to follow what God has said? Where have you said, I will not sin, I will walk according to your ways, I will do the best I can, Abba help me so that I may be blameless before you through the blood of Yeshua. You see, they were coming up and they understood something. Every day is a choice. Every day you align yourself with the God of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. But if you're going to call yourselves sons and daughters of Abraham, you need to act like Abraham. Man, listen to me, at 100 years old, circumcision without painkillers. And many of us don't even want to go to a doctor to get a consult. How badly do you want to be in a covenant? How badly do you want those promises? How badly do you want that relationship? No? Okay. Do you believe God? No, Abraham is like a serious Hall of Famer, right? How many of you, Chasva Khalila, would trust God so much that he said, God promised me that Yitzhak will have an inheritance and a promise through his children, through my children, through his children. That was the promise, yes? God says, take him up to the mountain and you go to him. Sacrifice him to me. And you're standing there with a knife in your hand. And what's running through your mind? Right now I can guarantee you're like thinking, why would God tell me to do this? This is just wrong. I don't know the mind of Abraham, but I can pretty much think the only way he got to that point of lifting that knife was God's promises are true. He's going to resurrect this boy, I don't know how. But he promised that he would have sons and daughters. How can he do that if he's dead? God is not a liar. Are you focusing on what he's already promised you in your walk to stand up in faith and say, this is where we are. This is what I'm saying. Now you go through this Jewish identity and this Jewish understanding, and you're looking back to Abraham, and you say, we're going to be like Abraham, and you say, and the Gentiles get to come in. No one saw that coming. Correct? There's nowhere in Scripture that says that we're going to come in and be joint heirs of anything, right? This is the point where you say, Vince, you're wrong. This is the point where you say, you know, Vince, if you read this in, and if you don't know chapter and verse, maybe you should go read the Bible. Let me take you to an easy one that's going to contradict that. What does John 3:16 say? God so loved the Jews. Whoa! Right. Last time I checked, you were in the world, yes? Right. So God is the father of the creation of the Jewish nation, yes? Yes, he is. Oh, here we go. Terrorizing lots today. He opened up Sarah's womb. Rivka. When you look at the matriarchs, it says, literally in the Hebrew, that he had to open up each one, including the maidservants, all those over. He created a nation when it was impossible to create. Miracle after miracle after miracle birth. Why? Well, there was going to be a miracle birth later. Why did he do that? Is he the father only of the Jews? Or is he the father of all creation? Does he not say, because Yeshua does not say that not one should be lost? Is that not your God's heart, that everyone should be saved? I know it's difficult sometimes. You guys struggle with your neighbors, you struggle with yourself, you struggle with people. Sometimes you don't even like you don't even want to, you don't even understand why God wants to save you. It's a wonderful thing He does anyway. You don't need to understand. But don't look at your neighbor any different. When you were unlovable and you were ugly and quickly and doing everything wrong and telling God He didn't know what He was doing, He still chased you down. So who are we to say that anybody's any different? And His heart is for His creation. That's why He wants to redeem creation. That's why He sent Yeshua to redeem. Remember what redemption means? To bring back into the Father's house. And He redeemed all creation. They were so focused on where they came from and the covenants and all those things, and they've been studying Torah for so long. They missed His heart. And Paul is just freaking out at this point. He's like, I can't believe it. You know, we discussed Acts 10 in the class before, a week ago. It's like, I can't believe the Gentiles got the same Holy Spirit we did. How can we deny it? You know? Thank God He doesn't just deal according to our faith. Because I think He would have to do far less than what we did as thought possible. I became a servant of the good news by God's gracious gift, which He gave me through the operation of His power. To me, the least important of all God's holy people was given this privilege of announcing to the Gentiles the good news of the Messiah's unfathomable riches, and letting everyone see how His secret plan is going to work out. Let's stop there for a second. through the operation of his power. The end of verse 7. What power is he talking about? The Ruach HaKodesh, right? The thing that brought Yeshua to life is the same power operating in you. Please stop and let that sink in. I can't do it. No, you're choosing not to. Can God? Yes. Are you going to do it with him? Maybe. If you don't believe you can overcome sin, you don't know how powerful your God is. How many of you have done something wrong and you've broken to the point where you literally felt so bad that you cried out to the Father and you said, I need. I'm so broken, I need. And how many, just raise your hands, I don't know what your sin was, but how many times has he freed you from that sin? And a wonderful testimony from my baby girl down at the bottom there. One night she came up to me and I didn't know about this. She had a problem with telling flips. Did you wash your hands? Yes. Check the hands. No, you didn't. And just in case you're wondering, we never taught our daughter to lie. And we programmed that way. You deal with any kid, you realize they have problems. We say to them, this is becoming a problem. I need to be able to trust you when you speak to me. Do you understand? Months passed. She came up to me, she said, Daddy, I went back and I climbed on my bed and I cried. And I asked God to help me stop lying. And the next day I was fine. I don't have to lie anymore, to tell you the truth. How does a 6-year-old get it when we don't? You know what happens? We don't cry out for your sin, we justify it. You want it, you just don't want to be caught. That's going to break you. It's going to hurt you. Guys, the best thing you can is listen to that conviction when God is telling you something is wrong. Fix it. This plan kept hidden for ages by God, the creator of everything, is for the rulers and the authorities in heaven to learn through the existence of the Messianic community. Please pause. Different translations there, plenty. Verse 10, what do you guys have? Verse 10, for the rulers and authorities, for the principalities and powers, right? In heaven to learn. What else?
Made known.
So that it may be known. For the powers and principalities to realize this is what God is doing. Do we all kind of agree that's a summation of the verse? So, what do we know about the powers and principalities? Do they know everything? No, they're learning. It's quite clear and quite plain in your text. Even the angels don't understand what God's up to. So let's kick that over. Does Hasatan know what God's up to? No. He cannot control your mind. He cannot predict the future. When he see Yeshua on the tree dying, he thought, my job is done. 3 days later, he realized it was the biggest hiding he ever got. Sometimes you're going to be like Joseph and you get put into a pit for a time, but he knows that God is putting you there to deal with you so he can lift you up so you can save others. Sometimes you're going to be lifted up to save others. It is for your family. And while he's saving your family, you'll save the Lord through. Are you hearing me? Please. To the existence of the church of the Messianic community, how many-sided God's wisdom is. It's unfathomable. We cannot figure this thing out. This accords with God's age-old promise accomplished in Messiah Yeshua, our Lord. In union with him through his faithfulness, We have boldness and confidence when we approach God. Roman, don't think that you do not belong here. But I'm actually a Frenchman and I was kidnapped and I was put over here and I'm a good for nothing. You belong to this house. Act like it. So I ask you not to be discouraged by the troubles I endure on your behalf. It is all for your glory. I'm doing this for you. I'm fighting for you. I'm standing up here giving testimony for you. It's funny. This guy's been beaten, persecuted, locked up. He's going to go face Nero. Probably not the best guy you want to spend some time with. And he's saying, how many times in Scripture? He says, rejoice in all your trials. How many of you pray for your trials to disappear? How about this is uncomfortable, please stop it. You know what God is telling you? It's not going to change you if I stop it. Do you trust me? It's a wonderful thing. I've had the privilege of, as you guys well know, taking trips to Israel and watching God work in people's lives. And man, I've learned over time, when God's busy battering, take 3 steps to the left. People are foaming at the mouth, they're getting grumpy, they're tired, they're all over the place. They get stuck in a van with a group of people for 7 days. Vince is a slave driver. 7 o'clock breakfast. We'll get home when we get home. Most of the time you collapse at 8. Sometimes we go walkies. And you get home at 10. And you collapse. And you're tired. And you're full. And your brain is hurting. And your heart's exploding. And God's going, now remember that time you did that thing? I don't like that. And I sit there and I watch him irritate to show the real stuff that's hiding underneath the facade. I'm really a nice person, God, day 3. All pimped and preened and ready to go, makeup and all that stuff. By day 3, they don't care. All of that stuff goes out the window because you're pushing it further than they want to be pushed. But man on man, when God is finished over those 10 days or 12 days, they come back and they cannot praise God hard enough for what they experienced through the push. It's good to get uncomfortable. Growth happens. Verse 14. For this reason I fall on my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth receives its character. Any translation there? Its name. Writes his name. The Greek renders to assign, profess, and call. Remember, it's a Hebraic thinking book. He has called you. And what he calls you is your function. That's who you are to him. If he calls you son, if you act anything unlike it, he's got a problem. Daughter, and your job is to cry out, Abba. Not Ab. Ab is father, it's a formal title. Abba is daddy. It's that relationship. I pray that from the treasures of his glory he will empower you with inner strength by his Spirit. Amen, amen. So that the Messiah may live in your hearts through your trusting. Also, I pray that you will be rooted and founded in love. If you love God, you follow his instructions. So that you with all God's people will be given strength to grasp the breadth, length, height, and depth of Messiah's love. Yes, to know it, even though it is beyond all knowing, so that you will be filled with all the fullness of God. You will know Him even though you can't know Him. What does it mean to know God? Relationship. Intimate relationship. Alright? Now don't get all weird. A husband and wife's intimacy goes far beyond that of the physical. It's that they know your worst, and they love you anyway. And they know your heart, and they know your highs, they know your lows, and they love you anyway. That they sit in your corner, regardless of how they feel, because they love you anyway. How many of you need to know that prayer from God? How many of you need to sit down and cry out and say, Abba, I don't understand that. I sat at a place at Miss Paramon. Miss Paramon is the biggest natural crater formed in Israel. It's like 48 kilometers wide by 12 kilometers, something ridiculous like that. You stand on one side and you look out, you cannot see the end of this thing. And it was done through erosion. You know, you see the little cars coming up the road, they're like yay big. And we sat there one night, and we're looking at the stars, and we're seeing how big everything is, and how quiet everything is, and then we just get struck with this, what am I? Who am I that you should even care? I am the dust. I cannot even fathom the size of this crater, and now you want to talk to me about the size of your love? Who am I that you hear my prayer? Who am I? I cannot understand why you even care. He doesn't try to explain it. I do. It is something we will never fully understand. To Him be glory in the Messianic community in the church. Oh wait, let's get that. No. Sorry, 20. Now to Him who by His power working in us is able to do far beyond anything we can ask or imagine. Please pause. Far beyond anything. Guys, what is coming? You have no clue. You can't even pretend to understand. I do not understand. We don't know what's coming, and whether that's dealing with it now or dealing in the world to come. It's exciting times. To Him be glory in the Messianic community, in the church, in the Messiah Yeshua from generation to generation, forever. Amen. 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 I think I've gone over time, yes? Slightly. Guys, this prayer is important. Go home, think about it. Pray it. So that you can get the fullness of His heart and His understanding. Next week we can play again. Alright, prayer time is every time. Like I said, guys, if I may ask, please go up and pray. If anything, for my sanity. Go and think about it and do what God lays on your heart. And then, you know what? If you're going to commit into giving, pray about how much, and And then, if I may ask, I don't want to be involved. Can you contact? Who would you like to nominate?
Nick.
He's not on WhatsApp.
He better be.
I take SMSs
I'll
and
take this
I'll-
PI. I can ask PI, I'm on WhatsApp.
Alright, if you can send it to Tan, alright? Part of my testing of this thing is, Abba, if it's from you, you will cover whatever we need. And the nice thing is you will know what that is. Alright? So, if we as a community can do that, if God lays on your heart and you want to do it, again, this is going to have to be a monthly thing. Not to be Abba. And then we go from there. Will you pray with me? Thank you. All right. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your time today, for all these people able to come, and those who weren't able to come, for those who have watched on the live stream. I want to thank you for every single one of them. We ask that you open the hearts to everyone, that for those that are willing, that are wholeheartedly willing to give a terumah and a free will offering. We want to thank you, Vince, for raising Vince up all those years ago, to be able to stand here today and to be able to fill us up when we need filling, so that we can go and fill others up. I'll ask that you go ahead of us, coming behind us, that you put your hedge of protection around us, that you fill us all with your ruach, that you give us wisdom and give us strength for the week to come. But please heal anyone that needs healing, open doors for anyone that needs opening, and close the doors for anyone that needs those doors closed. I'll ask that you bring more people, that your truth can be heard. I'll ask that you allow us, that you give us the strength to go and teach and reach others. I pray all of this in your chosen